Okay, so you have a skill and people want to pay you for it. Congratulations, you're officially a small business. You are the backbone of the economy and whatever politicians have been all about for the last 50 years. But maybe you're a little confused on the details. Like, you get the making money, but what are you supposed to do for taxes? And what even is a business structure? Fortunately, I spent the last 12 years struggling through this process as a freelance audio engineer in Washington, D.C. And in this video, I'm going to show you basically everything I wish I knew when I was getting started. Now, I'm in the film production world. I'm not a tax professional or an accountant, so take all of this with a grain of salt. But what I want to do is lay out enough information so that someone just getting started in the freelance world can know what to expect, and maybe even have a leg up when it comes to making sense of all this. While working as a freelancer, there's going to be two main ways you can get paid. The most straightforward is kind of what we already talked about, right? You do a job, you send an invoice to the client, they pay you for that amount. That being said, there are some industries where clients have to pretend like you're an employee in order to hire you, even if it's just for a day or two. Generally, the government doesn't want companies pretending like full-time employees are freelancers just so they can avoid having to do things like give them health insurance or pay livable wages. And they tried to crack down on this by passing laws that say, if you tell someone what time they have to arrive or when they can leave, that person is an employee, not a freelancer. Now, in the film world, I need to know what time to show up on set. So the line gets kind of blurry, and often it means the company has to hire me as an employee rather than a freelancer. The pay ends up being the same, but it's a lot more paperwork, and it's an important distinction for your business structure. This is also going to be how your income looks if you already have a job and you want to start like a freelance thing on the side. You'll have your current job that pays you via time card or salary or whatever, and you'll have your freelance job that you invoice for. Either way, at the end of the year, freelancers are often going to have some combination of invoice-based work and time card-based work done. The main difference between these two is that the invoice work does not have taxes taken out, so you need to plan accordingly for that. And your time card work will have all your taxes taken out by your employer. All the invoice income is reported to the government using 1099s, and all the employee income is reported using W-2s. These two income streams are going to make your company structure look a little bit like this. As you can see, your invoice work becomes your business income, and your time card work becomes your personal income. It doesn't matter if that time card work is your actual employer or a bunch of one-off clients. All the W-2 work will count as personal income, while all of the 1099 work counts towards your business. At this point, any profit gained from your business after you take out your expenses then flows through to become your additional personal income. Depending on your industry, you might get lucky and only have to deal with invoice-based income, but it would just make your business structure look like this, basically without any money coming down the W-2 stream. The reality is though, if you're just starting out as a freelancer, it's probably going to be a bit more of a jumbled, messy split. One of the first things you've probably heard from your aunt or whatever is that you should get a business bank account. And in this case, your aunt is totally right, because this is essential to keeping things organized and clean, especially if you want to try and do more advanced business structures later on. Plus, having multiple bank accounts just feels kind of cool. Unfortunately, before we can get that bank account, you need to have an EIN for your business, which is kind of like a social security number, but for businesses. And for most of us, this is going to be our very first experience navigating the wonderful world of government websites. To apply for an EIN, you have to go to the irs.gov site, find the link, and answer some questions. Now, one of the very first questions it asks is, what is your business structure? So let's take a minute to cover that. The top of that list is a sole proprietorship, and if you don't know what you are, this is probably what you are. Anyone who makes money doing invoice work is kind of automatically a sole proprietor. Other types of business structures are LLCs, which if we go back to that amazing graph, it gives you protection between the business and personal half. If while working as a freelancer, you drop something on someone's head, they could only sue the business half there. There's also an S-Corp structure, which basically gives you tax breaks for being rich and successful. I mean, that's a true but unfair statement. We'll look more at it later. For now, let's just celebrate your sole proprietorship and move on. You may have also thought of a super awesome name for your company at this point, and fortunately, you can still do that as a sole proprietor. You want to look up your state's DBA or doing business as registry. A DBA is definitely not like a trademark or anything that actually protects your company name, but it's also like $50, so take what you can get. Okay, so here you are, you're making money as a sole proprietor, you have your super awesome company name registered as a DBA, and you have an EIN registered with the IRS. You can finally get that business bank account and start to set up your company structure correctly. Keep in mind that as you get income, You need to remember if it was invoice or W-2 clients and put that money into the correct bank account. There's some wiggle room here because sole proprietorships are known as pass-through corporations, so don't worry too much if you mess it up at first, but it'll definitely help you keep track of how much you owe for things like quarterly taxes, and it makes organizing the stack of 1099s and W-2s you get at the end of the year a lot easier. Let's review how to set up your new freelance business. First, register your DBA as your company name with the state. Then apply for an EIN with the IRS. Use those two things to get a business bank account with, whoever, and then understand your income flow and to which bank account you need to put money into as you get it. In the next video, we're going to get a little bit more into taxes and accounting for freelancers, so keep an eye out for that if this was helpful to you.